Hi, welcome back to another episode of Unlocking Venture Capital. My name is Sydney. I'll be your host. And today we have Karol. So, would you like to tell us a little bit about your startup before we dive right into your pitch deck?
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Karol. I started BeeSpeaker 2.5 years ago, and today I will be happy to introduce you what we've achieved so far.
So, as you guys know, in real life, when entrepreneurs like Karol sends over pitch decks, he himself will not usually get to be in the room to present it to everyone. And so the pitch deck really has to be able to stand on its own and be able to present and tell the story on a founder's behalf. So that's why it's really, really important that you have something that is really solid. So I'm going to go over exactly how I would normally read this, what kind of things I would be looking for. It's really following the rule of what can I do in the first 10 hours of due diligence that will save me 200 hours? What kind of things would I be either flagging or questioning for the startup and to ask for more questions, more details, or bringing a different kind of industry expert to dive into a little bit more detail within this industry or within this company. So let's dive right in. I'm going to share my screen and we will share the pitch deck. So here it is, right away. I see it's very colorful. So my marketing background, it makes me very happy to see this because I like things that really stand out and kind of brings warmth. So BeeSpeaker, AI native speaker for everyone. Love that. Okay, only native tutors can provide fully natural method of learning a language, and all language apps suck. Live tutoring is the most effective way of learning a language, but it's also the most expensive and least available. I also agree. I was a tutor for 8 years in university and high school. So I definitely understand what that is like. And it's very time consuming. It is very effective and you get to have that interaction, but it is becoming less and less available over time. Meanwhile, it is impossible to learn how to speak a foreign language with the market's leading apps. Okay, interesting. So a native speaker for billions of users fulfilling rapid growth demand for language tutors. Fantastic. The closest to the natural method, the app offers interactions with real people and AI tutors. I'm wondering if an AI tutor is like a robot that I see on the screen. Okay, covering all levels of proficiency, fraction of the cost. Yes, that makes sense. Yearly subscription, that also makes sense. Then that's cheaper than a few sessions with a tutor. So what I would have also liked, and it may be coming up soon, is how big of a problem this is and why that is a really big problem. I understand the struggle of learning a new language. I myself speak 3 languages, not all of them well, but it exists. And I would have loved to have something like this. However, I want to know how many other people are struggling with this kind of thing and what age groups and why. So why is it a really, really, really big pain point that you want to solve? So the problem slide should be telling me this. I think that we're skipping the problem slide and going right into the solution is what I'm seeing. But I would have liked the problem slide to come with a bit of a macro granular storytelling of the market itself in terms of the problem. Our roadmap to your private tutor. Okay, great. So engaging, affordable, and highly available language training for everyone. Everyone, it's a big market. So I'm hoping throughout the deck, you're going to tell me who the addressable market is and then kind of go on and on from there. Infinite number of interactive videos and conversations with AI tutor. Great. Natural voice and video. Okay, that's fantastic. It's like a remote session with a native speaker. Perfect. Our goal is to create video avatars that will mimic real tutors. So this is not like a big burden question, but I'm just wondering in terms of the native speakers, if it's like you're choosing different countries in terms of the dialects, accents, those kinds of things, or there's one that's already chosen for you based on what the founders have proven to be sufficient. Yeah, this is great. So there's lots of different kinds of needs, I presume. There are some needs where people are learning really well in the classroom, but then they're not actually applying it to real life where they actually live or able to carry out conversations in a normal, efficient way in the real world. I'm hoping that that's kind of what these personalized exercises and live feedback is really explaining. Transforming any existing video content into fun and engaging experience. So this is really interesting because I think this is something that's probably part of their proprietary property where they are creating this themselves, where they can transform any kind of video content. So for example, like a kids show or any other kind of movie or any other content that's already there into something that can be learned and engaging. So I'd like to find out more information about this because if it is part of their IP, it's highly interesting. This is something that it is out there, but I haven't seen a lot of it with these kinds of applications. So that would be great. You can practice conversation with me anytime about any topic, 24/7. I'm available. Okay, great. So this kind of has kind of like a chat GTP kind of feel, which I think people are getting very used to. So I think that user experience and relatability is going to be really easy to pick up for people. Okay, global language and learning market. Okay. All right. I personally really like these kinds of timeline slides because I find them very easy to follow. And it also tells me where things are and how things have evolved over markets that not all investors will be very well versed in, but they can easily follow it in a way that makes sense. Presumably, part of what makes it unique is that it is collecting different kinds of information and learning and making it better for other users over and over again, just the way that ChatGPT probably does, or using other kinds of data sets. So that will be really interesting to know because, for example, other ones like Duolingo, from my understanding, you need other people to input things for it to output efficiently. And that's very different because it's very just one note in that way. So kind of seeing what capabilities BeeSpeaker will have, that I find to be interesting. Okay, great. Number slide and tractions and growth. Perfect. So this is traction and growth. So there has been over 500,000 installations. Amazing. Great. Revenue is 300K in euros. Perfect. And the year-over-year growth, well, something is 1,500%. Okay, good. We'll come back to that later. So you have subscribers in 68 different countries. Fantastic. So over the course of a year, you've had about 10,000, well, actually almost the growth of about 10,000 paying users. So that's fantastic. It doesn't tell me how much that is. So I'm guessing I would have to do the math itself. Maybe about 30 euros per customer. You've got a good net promoter score of 65. Okay, these are customer testimonials. We love seeing customer testimonials at early stage because it really does help a lot. Another great thing would be if you add within these customers their which country they're from and possibly their age group. So give us a little bit, tiny bit more information about their demographic, and that it also shows that the users are happy all across the board. That's really great. So in terms of the investment, the general rule is, of course, venture investors, especially in North America, are looking for that 3x, 3x, 2x, 2x, 2x in terms of the growth. And this looks like it could be going in that direction. So every year you're growing at a certain kind of rate in order to get a 10x return in your 5 years. So that's generally what we're looking for in terms of most institutional investors, even at the early stage, right? What's really great about this slide and what the founder has presented is A, we have traction, and B, we have traction that you can actually follow. And it's not just going up and down, up and down. So they're not per pilot project. They're not per beta launch or anything. It's not iteration and then testing and then having like huge spikes. This is really easy to follow. And this shows a prediction and that they're hitting all their hypothesis in a very good way. So that's fantastic. Their rate of return is over 100. That makes sense because they have recently launched. And their potential for ROI is 3,500%. Their investment is 1.5 million in terms of euros. So in terms of what I would predict that they're asking for, because it doesn't always say on the slide, is that I would predict that they are asking for between 15 to 30% of this being the round, just because that's roughly what it would be at around seed stage. You would be asking for about that much in terms of this investment. If that is true, I would say the valuation is about 7.5 million in terms of euros. And their revenue for this year is about 7 million for 2024. So it's about 10x their revenue multiple, which isn't crazy. So that seems pretty good in terms of if they are keeping up here. I want to know what the spike is. This is probably the first thing I would ask them. Between 2025 and 2026, there seems to be a really big spike that is less predictable, but I'm guessing it has to do with a certain kind of pipeline that's coming in, a certain kind of contract or partnership or things like that in terms of scalability. If the spike between 2025 to 2026 and 2026 to 2027 only has to do with entering a new market without a lot of evidence that that new market is really high in traction, really, really high in need, without a lot of proof that this new market is going to be substantial enough to justify these spikes, then that would probably come into question. However, like I said, if it has to do with things that are not necessarily just a new market, but it has to do with other contracts, other partnerships, other segments that are opening up in a different way, then that's something that would be really interesting and it would make a lot of sense. In terms of the prediction and potential, that looks good. I would like to know a little bit more about how this market is growing, but because I don't have the problem slide that would have had, all of this is the number of people in the market, this is what we're looking for and all these things. And this is why it's a really, really huge, painful problem for XYZ kinds of people, the demographic and psychographic of the people that we are targeting. I don't know how much the market is growing. Even if I'm reading it right now, I would first want to look up, like, in terms of the segmentation of how this market is growing globally. It's really great that there's already going to be proof online in terms of Google Play, Apple Store as well, in terms of where they are growing and what the most susceptible markets are, because that is all tracked. So that's really good proof right there. However, I would still want to know in terms of how big it could possibly be and how it compares to the other apps and how they're generating revenue in those ways. Is it similar? Is it different? Is the price point similar? Is that different? And how are you taking market share from them in a very active way because the pain point is so big and so potent? Winning formula, high performance team. Great. Why do some people have yellow circles and the other ones don't? I, first of all, really love that they have language school experts on their team. I think that makes a lot of sense and it gives a lot of credibility to their team and why they are experts in this field. The more experts you have from the field, the more confident the investors will feel giving you money within an industry that they haven't yet invested in. If there are any founders that have worked in a startup before or have exited at a different startup before, I would highlight that. I don't know what a Flutter developer is, and I don't know if that's something that's very obvious to other people, but it's not particularly obvious to me as a job title. So it looks like there's, a very well-versed team. If I were to do a second interview with this founder, I would ask who is full-time, because I don't think it's everybody. And it looks like there's 2 founders, and then the rest are team members. The founders, I think, are the ones in black and white. And if there's any kind of awards or things like that from the field expertise that are very notable, I would also put that on here, on this slide. But other than that, I think this slide is good. It's a lot of very small words. I would add just a few more things to boost up credibility and take out a few of the words. And now I would turn it back over to Karol. What are your first impressions of what I have just analyzed?
That was fun. That was really fun. It's the first time I experienced something like this, and it's very valuable for me because I can get some insights that I never get from the normal conversation with
No, you would just probably get
appreciate
ghosted,
that.
right?
Yeah. So yeah, a good idea. I like it. I really like it.
How do you feel about your problem slide and your market slide that I was questioning?
I feel that there's a lack of maybe few numbers just to show how quickly this market is growing and how big it is right now and how quickly it is still growing, because nobody actually knows that it will double its size in the next 5 years. Yeah,
we don't know that. Yes, we only know what
exactly.
you have written to us so far.
Exactly.
We can't read more than that.
Exactly. So that was a good point, and I would probably change that just to show how important it is, how important market it is, and how quickly it is growing.
Well, I mean, you contacted me a couple of months ago during Web Summit. And so from then until now, you said that there were a couple of major changes in your business. Do you want to share what they are? And then we can talk about how that best translates into either deliverable slide, or you hold it back and you only present it when you have FaceTime.
I mean, this is a startup, so yeah, the things are changing very quickly. One of the things that has changed recently is that realize how important the A/B testing is. So right now, when we are developing the product further, we are testing everything, testing different hypotheses, and that's very valuable. And we've learned that from other startups from our industry that this is a way to go to develop the product further. So, and yeah, we've learned a lot of things recently. So I am even more confident for this year that we will achieve the growth that we are trying to get. Yeah.
So Before we started our recording, I know that you told me to use a different slide deck, and then there was some proprietary information that cannot be shared in the previous slide deck that you have sent to me, correct?
Yeah.
I just wanted to share, still don't know what it is, but I just wanted to point out something very quickly, that when you share a slide deck with proprietary information to people that you don't know, because you don't know any of the investors you actually share things with, none of them will sign an NDA. So you just have to understand that it's kind of like, this is something I learned a long time ago when I was in email marketing, because I was a marketing specialist before I became an investor, that anything that you write in an email is basically like writing it on a postcard. It will always be seen by whoever has that postcard, right? So it's the same with your pitch deck, because you don't know exactly who is going to be the decision maker, who is going to be the person doing the technical vetting, or the industry expert who's coming in to do the vetting and all of that stuff. So these things will be shown to other parties. So you just have to make sure that anything that is proprietary information, that you are in the room when you're presenting it, and to never send it out when you're not in control of it, if it is. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I know what you mean.
I had a startup founder that I was working with when I was an entrepreneur in residence at the Elevate program in Toronto. And their biggest proprietary piece of information was, unfortunately, who was doing the clinical trials for this med tech product. And it was the largest in the industry. So of course, everybody wants to know who it is. And part of the contract is that they can't say the name. And so they have to somehow prove so much traction and prove that they are in line with all of these, like all of the, like they have all the approvals from all the medical centers and everything, because the largest one has already done their lab testing for them and given them clients, given them clinical trials and everything. But they can't tell anybody who it is. They have to talk around it, right? So that's another different way that you can be presenting your pitch deck to show that you have traction, but you are not disclosing any specific information, is the way that you talk around it. I don't know if that's at all pertinent to what you were trying to put the veil under. I have no idea still, but it's just another thing that just to make sure in the future when you're sending things out that makes a lot of sense.
That's why we've created different versions of pitch decks. Some of
yes,
then we are only using on the meeting, and the other ones we are sending out. We know that we cannot hide it because it will go all over the world. Yeah, one investor will send it to another one and so on. So yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah, and all to say that investors are sending each other pitch decks in order to hopefully help you for the most part.
Right, yeah, of course.
It's not out of a malicious habit. It is to try and get other people in on a really good deal in order for it to close on a timely basis, because they think that this investor is a great fit for this type of founder, even if it's not, let's say, a great fit for my fund, it will be a great fit for my colleague's fund. It's that kind of intention of why they're sending it, but they don't know what is proprietary information. So you've obviously had the opportunity to send things out to quite a few investors. Do you have any specific feedback that you have received that has helped your business that you particularly find notable?
I would say many things. Hard to note down everything right now on the meeting, but I would generally divide the meetings with the investors to two different kinds. One kind when we get no information, no feedback at all, and this is a little bit sad, yeah, because it is actually for me as a founder, it is the only moment I can get some valuable feedback, how to improve the way we show our startup or the way we develop our product, so that it will be more attractive for the investors to back us up. So, and I had some meetings with the investors when they were really straightforward with us. And then I was taking the notes so quickly just to grab everything. So yeah, and I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate the openness. On the other hand, maybe something that I would add here is that every time you will hear this feedback, you have to think about it times before you actually implement that into your plan. But I like when the investors are very open and straightforward. Then at least I'm getting some information that I can use.
One thing that I would like to also commend you on is your valuation calculations. How did you come up with that? How did you come up with this slide?
We are an early stage startup, so the current valuation is around what you calculated on the meeting.
Yeah,
Just
7.5
when we
million.
were discussing. Yeah, something around that, maybe a little lower. But the way we calculated the money that we need for the further growth, we looked at the future. We somehow tried to predict what is the, on the one hand, minimum amount of money we need to grow further, on the other hand, amount secure enough for us to maintain our growth for the next 24, maybe 30 months. So this is how we came up with the number.
Very funny because you have somehow guessed a valuation formula you didn't even use. I was calculating things because I was using a specific formula that we would normally use to calculate a valuation from any kind of e-commerce or subscription kinds of businesses, right? And you hit a very good valuation that was very fair. In my opinion, it was fair. And when I asked you how you came up with it, you didn't use any formula at all. You based it off of what you felt it should be, and it just happened to be along the same lines. So that was done very well. Normally, I would have used something similar to a revenues multiple valuation. So if anybody asks what you've used, you can look into that.
I understand. Yeah, I would say that, yeah, we've double checked it if it makes sense on the current market. Of course, the market has experienced a lot of changes recently in the last 12 to 16 months. The valuations went down even for the early stage startups. That is a hard part, I would say, to come up with this number.
Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. We really appreciate it. And I hope this was good for you as well and provides positive impact.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Sydney, for this opportunity. I really like your feedback, and I will now take the notes to update the pitch deck. Thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you, Karol. Have a good one.